You're going to crop this anyway, so if you need to. Cool. Cool.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Altacast. This one is going to be a bit shorter.
Yeah.
What's up?
I just said take two.
Take two. Yeah, we had the quick take because I tried it again on this laptop that you might have seen some of the early Altacasts were in, and it stutters a bunch, so we had to. So Joel's recording now using Zoom.
We'll see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes. So today's topic is mainly going to be about the forest update that just dropped last week, and the fixes that we're kind of rolling out as it's come out.
Yep.
And some of the things that are coming afterwards, some of the things you might look forward to. We're not going to be doing a Q&A this session, I don't think, because we've got to get right back to work.
Yep.
And already with the missed take on the first one.
That was our Q&A time. Go on.
That was our Q&A. It was only 10 minutes, but it was still like we're trying to be quick and concise.
Yeah.
And it's late for me as well.
I'm sure you guys would rather bug fixes than else.
Yeah.
I just
so
realized
quick recap on.
I put Zoom on the screen, but my webcam's on this monitor.
It doesn't matter. Okay, so quickly, everybody's working on. So myself, Joel, and Sol, and Timo are kind of working on the forest stuff. Timo's helping us push out these updates and these hotfixes. Sol was helping us test. He was helping us fix some of the things that he's got some knowledge in, some of the systems he's worked on.
Yep.
Like pages and the food recipes bounce that he's done.
Yep.
Joel and myself are just kind of going through all the bugs and fixing whatever fits our domain best. So we've done pretty much a hotfix every working day that we've been since the force has come out.
Yep. And we'll keep doing
we were expecting a pretty rough launch, so this is not too out of the blue for us. I thought it'd be worse than it is. I think right now things are fairly contained within the bubble of things that we know we have control over. There isn't too many black boxes.
I thought it would be better than it is, so bit of balance there.
Yeah, bit of balance. Like, I mean, we've had worst feeling launches for things that were less important than this update.
Yeah, we've had updates which didn't add anything really, or like anything major, and everything is broken. So it's
so
at least this time it feels like there's a reason for things to break.
Yeah, and I mean people like the things that do work, so it's nice. Quick disclaimer: this is going to be a full spoilers episode of the Altacast. So if you don't want to know about the forest yet, feel free to tune out. We're going to be doing an announcement when we think the forest is more ready for more people to join. If you've been waiting because you expected it to be buggy, it's still very buggy. So you were right. Feel free to wait a bit more.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're hoping to fix most of the bugs by next update. We're not going to tell you that that's when you should come back necessarily. We're going to try and hit all of our goals for that update. See how things play out for the next couple of days after that, and then maybe for the week after during the next rotation, we're going to we'll let you know what the state of the forest is like. Thanks a lot for your patience so far. Thanks a lot for your patience if you're still waiting for things to be smoother. And we're working on it pretty consistently. I like the cycle actually that we've been doing with updates. If only it was slightly more automated, which we're working on.
Yeah, I kind of wish it was us working and then shipping at the end of the day, but it's been us shipping at the start of the day and working, which has its benefits and its downsides. But
yeah, it has the benefit that we can monitor how the fixes we've done work.
Yeah.
And then we can kind of work on it a bit more, try and fix some things we broke. Yeah. And then maybe there's a chance we can build at the end of the day, but maybe we build the next morning.
The painful aspect is we fix stuff and then we spend all evening watching people complain about the thing where like, we know it's fixed, you just gotta wait 12 hours and it'll be,
But so we just post 60.6 today.
Yep.
And so we're going to try and see if we can squeeze another one by the end of today. Not guaranteed. Obviously, you might be able to tell, but me and Joel are in different time zones, which is why I'm laying in bed, because I'm going to sleep after this.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. I mean, you can't really tell because neither of us have windows in the shot.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's not a window.
What's going on out there, Boramy?
Oh, hey there. It's a nice birdcage you got. Yeah, so so that's kind of what's happening with the forest, I guess, is we're just fixing it. And that's all the next update is going to be about. It may not even feel like an update by the time we do next update, because we'll have done so many hot fixes in between.
Yeah.
But, I think we've dedicated this time to doing these fixes.
Yeah.
So there's nothing we're really going to cram in that's new from me and Joel's side of things, at the very least.
I think I know we've got a couple things planned, which I think some people in the chat might have picked up on or talked about, but I'm assuming what I'm saying is correct. I might not be, but there's been discussion about some kind of newish things which might make the update, which we won't push. Do you not know what I'm talking about?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, well, regardless, we're not going to be pushing. There's no chance of us pushing anything new in hotfixes. In hotfixes, it's purely going to be bug fixes. So even if we have one or two really minor things that are new, it'll be coming with updates. So if you don't want to have to read every hotfix patch notes, you don't need to. You won't miss anything really.
Yeah.
I'm not going to spoil it, because if it doesn't come now everyone's going to be.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about either, so I have no idea. But the other thing is probably going to drop the patch notes to the last update, maybe when this comes out, to everybody, not to supporters, but to when everyone gets it. Remember how we were saying we're going to push what the forest contains a week after?
Oh, okay. The official patch notes.
The official patch notes for the forest.
Yeah.
Because it's been about a week, slightly under. But I think everybody knows mostly everything already, so everyone's kind of talking about it on the Discord.
It's not 100% spoilers is worth mentioning as well. Like, I don't think it goes into it doesn't have details about
doesn't go into details
or anything like that. It's just kind of a coverall. Here's some of the features. It doesn't even go into the different encounters you can find in the forest. So you'd be able to read this and still not even know everything. But
yeah. And so one of the changes that came with the forest that we talked about in the previous Altacast, and that we wanted to bring up quite at the very start, and that we did leak we didn't leak, but we did talk about it at the very start of the forest updates patch, spoiler-free patch notes, was the weight system and stack size changes. So those received mixed reception from the community, and we expected it as such. It's a pretty jarring feeling to go from being completely unencumbered by what you're carrying and with your limited inventory, to being slowed down and having limits on how much you can carry.
As I very poetically put it in take one of the Altacast, it's like Superman losing his powers and then complaining that everything in the game, in the world, in his life is too difficult. It's too difficult to open doors. It's too difficult to carry cars. Like, that's, from our perspective, that's kind of what it is that players have been overpowered. And of course it's going to feel kind of, Well,
we had the chance to bury that joke with the first take, Joel.
That was a great joke. It's a great analogy. Analogy stands.
So that's pretty much right, is that you're pretty overpowered. And I think something that people didn't initially realize when they read the patch notes is that we did provide some solutions to these problems. And there are more that will come. Some that I think people will be very excited about. Things that do lead to the end game of having your own house is a big one. And that's kind of where we want you to do your hoarding, is essentially the answer that we have for you. We don't want you to be, carrying them in these in like lock boxes or in bags and stashes. We want you to put it in your home. We want you to build furniture to accommodate the stuff that you want to keep. And that way everything kind of fits nicely in this theme of you building your home and building things that are useful to you rather than having not having control over, or not having that experience, I guess, of creating that those useful items for you. So yeah, that's.
I wouldn't mind a house.
Yeah, it's it's something that I think private communities right now have a bit of that advantage. They can have the because they're a bit more secure than the legacy servers, yeah. But obviously they see less new players, and things like house building and having your own place. That's something that will translate into what is hopefully a pretty scalable method for the legacy servers, so that you can still have that experience of storing some of your stuff.
Yeah.
I can say already though that I think you're going to need to maintain your presence on those legacy servers a bit more than your private community ones, because for competitiveness sake of like real estate and the amount of people that you need to make sure that you're.
It's going to be a property market.
It's going to be a big property market on the servers.
Work harder
I look forward to actually. That's something that's going to stimulate the economy of the game.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's probably worth talking about the timeline from now to houses.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that, or do you want me to?
You can do it. I've spoken enough now.
Okay. So first things first, let's fix the forest. Because the forest is well, not the forest per se, but the current version of the game has issues. So that's what we're working through. Some of the next things we'll probably be working through are kind of exploring a little bit more about what the forest can mean. That might mean some content updates to the forest. It might mean some sort of balances or changes or new content in the forest. I guess there's kind of a distinction. There's stuff that the forest generates, and then there's stuff that you find in the forest. They're kind of two categories in my head. But so that might mean new creatures, might mean new encounters, it might mean whatever. We'll see, and that's something Boramy and I still need to talk more about to lock in our plans there. And then pretty much the next big thing, the next forest, I guess, is house building. So don't expect a huge expansion to the I don't know what, but the next big expansion, I guess, is going to be the house building expansion. So that's going to be the next big thing I'm working on. After we kind of spend a bit more time on forest. And I guess kind of a long-term goal for us is to position ourselves in such a way that we can have people who are working on adding new content to the existing game, as well as have people working towards kind of the future long-term vision. We obviously don't want to put forest on the sidelines while we focus on houses, but at the same time, we don't want to ignore houses and brush that aside to purely work on the forest for the next few years, for instance. So there's bits of both that we need to take into account there. I'm not sure. I couldn't tell you. I honestly couldn't tell you whether it's going to be a huge amount more forest content before houses come, or whether it's just going to be a small amount more forest before houses kind of take the priority. But either way, for us, it's going to be a balancing act to make sure that we don't put either of them off.
Yeah.
Well, I'm getting, no, I don't want to allow that to make changes to my device. Thank you. Yeah. So for us, it's going to be a bit of a balancing act, a lot of discussion, and kind of just probably bouncing off the community, you guys, a little bit to work out like which one feels more pressing at the current moment. So yeah, so there's going to be a lot of decisions ahead there.
I think there's a portion of the forest content that we're going to be working on after the fixes are mostly out is going to lead into the forest being more and more independent of when it comes to the new content creation, so that it takes less effort for us to create new content on it. We can still create interesting stuff on it without needing like too much new code or too many new systems added. And when we reach about that sweet spot where it's about to tip over, is probably where we're going to start moving to house building.
Yep.
So Joel and I have to kind of explore what we can do with the forest, what kind of systems we can build that can make it this self-propagating device. And then once we reach that point, that's when, Joel can kind of sign off.
Everything switches. This is marvelous. Whoever invented light switches.
Is this a light switch that just has the light on the switch?
It is a light switch.
Oh.
See? Isn't that genius?
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much what's happening with us in the future. Yeah, we're all super excited to see how you guys play the forest and stuff like that. It was fun watching everyone discover things. People discover things at a pretty good rate. Obviously, with server owners and commands, they can kind of spot some stuff pretty quickly. But I think a lot of people actually went through and played the game because they wanted to go through that experience that we've built without spoiling it for themselves. Yeah, there's
been some wicked screenshots coming out. I love some of the screenshots. I love some of the new weapons that have been emerging from this update. I think some of them, especially I don't even know the name of it, but the spiky blade head. Which one's that? The
Naginata?
Yeah, that's the one. Some of the weapons coming from that look pretty dope. I reckon that looks wicked on dagger handles, like on short handles. It looks really good.
Yeah,
anyway,
so
that's
a lot of fun stuff there. I think I wonder, like, I think there was a bit more in non-foresty, non-super foresty related things than the people expected. And I think one of the big pieces of feedback I heard from the general experience is that loot is a bit abstract to find, and it is true because most of the things you get, you have to kill some of the creatures, or you have to collect the wood, or you have to kind of deal with these encounters. And I think as we work on forest content and as the forest gets a bit more saturated with stuff, there will be things where you kind of have to decide whether or not you want to do that, or if you want to leave it for later.
Yeah.
And then
forest in general, I mean, there's questions about this throughout all the game, but forest especially in general, I think will be less of your chest-based loot experience. I think it'll always be more of you coming across natural phenomena and structures and plants and choosing, do I want to try and harvest this or collect this or kill this to get the loot, or chop this tree, for instance, rather than the experience that you might be familiar with in the caves, which is basically try and find chests and grab stuff out of them. Even the mines over time might evolve to be a bit more natural in the way that you find loot. Obviously, right now there's not much in caves other than crystals and ores. But if we were to add more variety and unique cave loot to it, it could make sense that the traditional chest-based loot actually becomes less common in the caves and might move into other experiences in the game, like dungeons or I don't know, other places.
Dungeons, temples.
Yeah.
Puzzle rooms.
But the forest was never, the fact that there's chests in the forest is kind of just because it's a fairly simple thing to do, and it fits well with Hebius camps especially. But the forest was never ever going to be a place full of endless chests like the
caves.
Like the caves are, yeah.
And because we're always looking at what we're particularly interested in is more ways to discover the loot, so to speak.
Yeah.
So rather than it being like, I think we've talked about it before, but rather than it being looking inside of the box, like you do in the caves, we want you to kind of do something to get it, because it's just a bit more fun, and it can propose a challenge based on the kit that you have with you. How do you improvise getting this thing that's too high up for you to reach?
Yeah.
If you're only carrying melee weapons. Here's not the spoiler, we have these pretty simple like hanging bags in the forest.
Yeah.
And you can't really reach that with any weapon, it's a bit too high. So you either shoot it down or use, like a slingshot or something, or I've seen a lot of people try and throw like kunais and their weapons up in the air trying to get it down.
Yeah.
And the fact that you stop for a moment and you have to try this kind of like semi-challenging thing means that, now if there were enemies around you, you can't just sit there and repeatedly try and throw your weapon whilst there's all these woodcutters shooting at you. You have to kind of deal with them.
Yeah.
And you having a clear shot at the sack means that you theoretically, like, the woodcutters have a clear shot at you because you have to be kind of in the clear and without obstructions.
Yeah.
And being stopped like that, I think, and it's a very optional stop. You don't have to take the sack of loot. It fits a bit better with the forest because there isn't that layer of darkness the caves has to stop you. So when we do stop you, we have to put a bit of like a skill check there almost, and then we can, whatever's there in the environment you have to deal with.
And we'll be adding more of these problems over time and more solutions to problems as well. It'll be it'll be interesting to see how things evolve, where some things players look at now that might seem difficult might become easier over time, or things people see as easy might become more difficult over time, just as kind of the game evolves. Like as Boramy said, stopping to try and throw a weapon up to chop this has very different risks based on the enemies around you. So, and different solutions, like being an archer to shoot it, means that you can be far away, but maybe at some stage that will pose different risks to the player, which that's not me spoilering or hinting at anything. That's just me saying that, it'll be interesting to see how these things sort of evolve. But also the other thing that I find exciting about the forest, I guess, is the fact that probably everyone has come across this experience of the hanging bag in the forest. I would say most people who have spent some time in the forest have probably come across what we're talking about. And if you haven't, there's quite a significant chance if you explore the forest on the server you play on more, you will come across it. But as we add more content to the forest, things will become rarer and rarer and more unique. So you might start coming across things that other people haven't seen before. Even now, we've got some exciting things planned. And I mean, there's items that I know are in the game that I haven't even seen people use. Maybe if you think you've used the item that I'm thinking of, send me a DM because I'm curious to know whether someone, whether it's whether people know about it. But it's cool to me that there's always this potential to be the first to discover something new. So yeah. Now I'm gonna get heaps of DMs. Just my phone vibrated as I said.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's all about we wanted to cover for this quick Altacast. Like I mentioned, we kind of want to get back to it. I know Joel has a lot to do left for today. I'm going to tackle more stuff tomorrow morning whilst he's asleep. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching this Altacast. Hope you enjoyed it. The Q&A is still active, so we're going to leave it in the link below, and we'll try and answer some questions next time.
Yeah.
And yeah, look forward to some of the stuff we've got in store, some of the things we have planned. There's a heap of things that were held back a little bit for the forest update that we're going to be working back towards once the stability is back to a level field. So yeah, you haven't seen everything yet. Look forward to
it. Cool things await you.
All right. See you, everybody. Bye-bye.
See you.